Before she was the ultimate momager of the Kardashian empire, Kris Jenner was just a high school grad with a suitcase full of dreams and a mother whispering in her ear to go out and marry rich. And that she did. She never met a man she couldn't use and leave in ruins. A generational legacy that Kardashian and Jenner sisters also seem to embrace. Here's a deep dive you don't want to miss. It all started in the early 1970s, back when Kris Houghton was living that quiet, blue-collar California life. No fancy handbags, no reality TV deals, just a girl with big lashes, big dreams, and zero college ambitions. Her mother always advised her to snag a man with a fat wallet. At 17, fresh out of high school, Kris's mom gifted her a trip to Hawaii. It was supposed to be a post-grad getaway. Instead, it turned into a romantic scandal when she met Cesar Sanudo, a handsome, clean-cut professional golfer at least a decade older than her. Rumors have it that it was Kris's mom who trained her to find a wealthy older guy. Her father left her mother when Kris was just 7 years old. MJ herself was married 3 times, and admittedly one of her marriages was even shorter than Kim's 72-day marriage. The single mother of 2 used to take Kris to golf clubs and race tracks to make her meet wealthy, older men. By 19, Kris had moved into his San Diego home, flashing a sparkling engagement ring and playing house with a man who had no idea he was about to get Kardashianed. While staying at Cesar's house, Kris met a wealthy 30-year-old Armenian-American lawyer from Los Angeles at the racetrack in Del Mar in 1974. The lawyer was Robert Kardashian. Robert wasn't just rich, he was Beverly Hills rich. The kind of guy who had a Rolls-Royce in the driveway and a tennis court out back. In her own words, the moment she saw Robert's home, she ran upstairs and called her mom, practically squealing as she told her, "Mom, you're not going to believe this. He's got a tennis court and a Rolls-Royce in the driveway." Mama Houghton was very impressed, and so was Kris. There was just one tiny problem. Kris was already engaged to Cesar Sanudo, but Kris wasn't about to let a little thing like commitment stand in her way. The two started hooking up behind Cesar's back. Then one day in 1975, Cesar came home from work and walked in on a scene straight out of a telenovela. He caught Kris and Robert in their bed. Not just any man, a sleazy Armenian, as Cesar would later tell his friend Jack in a 3 a.m. meltdown phone call. Cesar, heartbroken and furious, kicked Kris out of his home. And just like that, her life with the golfer was over and her climb into Kardashian territory began. Kris wasted no time. She dove headfirst into life with Robert, dazzled by the lifestyle and the prestige. To her, he wasn't just a man. He was a golden ticket out of mediocrity and into the world of Beverly Hills wealth, power, and connections. Robert was older, successful, and came from a family that was allegedly connected to the mob. Robert came from real old money, the kind that doesn't just open doors, it owns the building. And though Robert would soon dump her for Priscilla Presley, Kris already had her sights set. She wasn't walking away from the Kardashian name. She was just getting started. Following his brief romance with Priscilla Presley, Robert Kardashian reconnected with Kris in 1976, who was now working as an air stewardess. At the time, he was 32 years old and unmarried, a status that, according to his brother Tom, was frowned upon in their conservative Armenian community. Upon reconciling, Robert made it clear to Kris that in order to be considered for marriage, she would need to meet a strict set of personal and moral expectations. He insisted she become a born-again Christian and begin attending weekly Bible study sessions with him. Kris agreed at the time, but their pastor later stated that he never believed Kris had a genuine relationship with God. She was into Robert only because of his money. Over the years, the Kardashian-Jenner sisters have also faced similar accusations of forming personal relationships that appear closely tied to fame, wealth, and strategic gain. Among the most controversial connections was Kim Kardashian's alleged association with Malaysian billionaire Joe Low, who has since been implicated in major financial scandals. According to multiple reports, including statements from Low himself, he once gave Kim a trash bag filled with cash during their time together. Kim's first marriage to NBA player Kris Humphries in 2011 also came under scrutiny. Despite the highly publicized wedding and televised special, the marriage ended in just 72 days. Critics, including those within the entertainment industry, suggested that the union had been orchestrated for publicity rather than love. There are parallels drawn between their relationships and the guidance Kris Jenner had once received from her own mother to marry a man with a fat wallet. Kylie Jenner, the youngest of the sisters, was also surrounded by controversy in her early teen years. Public speculation suggested she had begun spending time with rapper Tyga, who was topping the charts at the time, before she was even 17. Khloe Kardashian herself has admitted in past interviews that her first sexual relationship was with someone significantly older, a revelation that makes one wonder about the early exposure faced by the sisters during adolescence. More recently, following renewed media attention around the Sean Diddy Combs trial, archival footage of the Kardashian sisters discussing their presence at parties hosted by the disgraced music mogul started to make the rounds. Sources close to the family have said that the lives they are living are something their father would have never approved because Robert was a man of faith. Before Robert and Kris got married on July 8, 1978, in a lavish ceremony, Kris had to undergo a complete transformation to fit Robert's image of the ideal religious partner. That included her joining the church and participating in weekly Bible study sessions with Robert. Robert, who was also apparently obsessed with the 1975 film The Stepford Wives, made Kris listen to self-help cassette tapes to refine her speech, behavior, and mindset. Robert took pride in her transformation, often crediting himself with Kris's elevated social presentation and domestic skills. Their marriage soon produced 4 children: Courtney, 1979, Kim, 1980, Chloe, 1984, and Rob Jr., 1987. But from the beginning, cracks in the marriage were evident. Robert's expectations were clear. Kris was to be the ideal wife, obedient, elegant, and supportive, while he maintained authority over finances and family decisions. Reportedly, Robert monitored her spending and restricted her social life. But as the years passed, Kris began to resist the constraints imposed on her. By the mid to late 1980s, Kris was frequently out late, drinking and socializing, often in circles far removed from Robert's conservative values. According to accounts by mutual friends, the marriage became increasingly volatile, and the illusion of the perfect Kardashian household was beginning to fracture. By the late 1980s, the Kardashian marriage had deteriorated beyond repair. Kris began an extramarital affair with Todd Waterman, a much younger professional soccer player. While Kris would later claim in her memoir that the two met at a party in Los Angeles, journalist Jerry Oppenheimer reported that they first encountered one another while Kris was vacationing in Europe. The relationship was not only emotional and physical, it also became a logistical and financial betrayal that no partner deserves. Todd, at that time, was not financially as strong as the Kardashians. According to a family friend, it was Kris who convinced and helped Todd find a rental apartment close to her house in Malibu. Kris also used Robert's money to furnish Todd's new apartment. Robert later found receipts detailing furniture purchases hidden in the Kardashian household. After discovering them, Robert reportedly hired private investigators who confirmed the ongoing affair. Robert confronted the pair out in public that led to an intense car chase. He ultimately filed for divorce in the summer of 1990. As proceedings began, the fight between the couple became so nasty that the court ordered psychological evaluations for both parties. The resulting 6-page profile painted a revealing picture of the couple's emotional dynamics. The psychological evaluation described Kris as having a Cinderella attitude, someone who believed situations would resolve in idealized fairy tale endings. Meanwhile, Robert was noted to become impulsive and emotionally overwhelmed when under stress. Robert allowed Kris and the kids to stay in the family home for 6 months, or until she found new housing. However, what happened next further destabilized their already fractured relationship. Shortly after Robert moved out, Kris's new boyfriend, Bruce Jenner, Olympic gold medalist and former decathlete, moved into their marital home. Robert Kardashian was dealt the same blow that he had dealt to Cesar Sanudo. According to a close family friend, Robert was devastated. He had not only been replaced, but replaced within his own home, while his children were still living there. When Bruce and Kris eventually vacated the property, Robert returned to find the house damaged and in disarray. According to eyewitness accounts, the home had been trashed, walls defaced, wallpaper stained, the kitchen left in ruins. In the final months of the divorce, during a private dinner, Bruce asked Robert to finalize the divorce and move forward with his life, to which Robert agreed. On April 12, 1991, exactly 1 month after the divorce was finalized, Kris Jenner married Bruce Jenner. The two moved into a rental house in Malibu, but they lacked financial stability. Bruce was in a period of financial hardship, and Kris, once again a stay-at-home parent, had no independent income. Despite the circumstances they were in, Robert paid the rental deposit for Kris and Bruce's new home, a final gesture to ensure his children had a place to live, even as he distanced himself from the woman who had upended his life. As the financial issues started to mount, Kris decided to move into a new role: manager, strategist, and brand builder. Kris began managing Bruce Jenner's public appearances and commercial endeavors, laying the foundation for what would eventually become the Kardashian-Jenner media empire. The skills she once used to execute perfect dinner parties and social events for Robert were now directed toward monetizing her new family's public presence. Over time, Kris Jenner would transition from a tabloid scandal figure to the architect of one of the most lucrative and influential reality television dynasties in history. In 2007, everything changed for the Kardashian family. A private tape involving Kim Kardashian was leaked to the public. It caused a major scandal and made headlines everywhere. While most families would have decided to hide away for the rest of their lives, Kris Jenner made a bold decision. She chose to take control of the situation and turn it into something bigger. Although over the years, there has been widespread speculation regarding who was responsible for making and distributing the leaked footage, with Kris Jenner frequently named as a possible orchestrator. No evidence has ever emerged to confirm Kris Jenner's involvement. Kris used the newfound fame to launch a reality TV show called Keeping Up with the Kardashians. The show gave viewers a look inside their everyday lives. People couldn't stop watching. It was an instant hit. The Kardashians became famous almost overnight. From that moment on, they were everywhere, on magazine covers, red carpets, and media. But Robert Kardashian never got to see the fame, the money, or the global attention. He passed away in 2003 after a short battle with esophageal cancer. Friends say that in his final years, Robert was angry, sad, and not himself. Many believe that the stress and circumstances of his divorce from Kris had taken a toll on both his mind and body. Shortly before his death, Robert Kardashian married Ellen Pearson, a woman he had met after his divorce from Kris Jenner. As Robert's health declined, tensions grew around his new marriage. Ellen was accused of isolating Robert from his family and close friends during his final days, especially after it became clear that he was terminally ill. Nearly a decade after Robert's death, Kris Jenner and the Kardashian children filed a lawsuit against Ellen Pearson, accusing her of trying to exploit the Kardashian name for financial gain. Ellen had made public some excerpts from Robert's personal diaries from the time of his relationship with Kris. The contents of the diaries were highly personal and controversial. In them, Robert Kardashian allegedly wrote about his troubled marriage to Kris, including accusations of infidelity and concerns about how it impacted their children. The diaries also included claims that Kris was physically violent toward their daughters, Courtney and Kim, and that Robert had doubts about being the biological father of Khloe Kardashian. Throughout the early seasons of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, fans observed a noticeable tension between Courtney Kardashian and her mother, Kris Jenner. Kris seemed to favor her other daughters, particularly Kim and Kylie, both of whom aligned more closely with the family's growing brand, while Courtney's actions, opinions, and lifestyle choices were often met with criticism or disapproval. The notes from Robert's diaries only served to reinforce what many fans had long suspected, that the relationship between Courtney and Kris was marked by unresolved tension, favoritism, and emotional distance. As the eldest child, Courtney probably got to witness a lot of Kris's shenanigans with her boyfriends and the messy divorce between her parents. In his diary, Robert Kardashian had a prediction for all his children, and that he was most concerned about his son Rob. Rob Kardashian, the only male sibling in the family, has suffered criticism and humiliation from his own mother and sisters. Kris was disappointed in him not being as marketable and bankable as his sisters. As the sisters continued to gain more fame, they doubled down on Rob, calling him a slob and a brat. His weight gain and life choices were also harshly mocked by his own family members on TV. Instead of supporting his mental health, Kris ordered Robert to lose 70 pounds before Kim's wedding to Kris Humphries. Though he flew to Paris for the rehearsal, Rob skipped the wedding, later photographed crying at LAX. Kim claimed the decision was his, but rumors circulated that he had been banned to avoid ruining the wedding photos because he was too fat. These excerpts from Robert's diaries, made public by Ellen, were published by major celeb publications and caught fans' attention. Kris and her children stated in their lawsuit against Ellen that they had never intended for these private writings to be made public and that releasing them was deeply damaging to their brand. Ellen Pearson pushed back with her own claims. In legal filings, she accused Kris Jenner of fabricating a false image of her relationship with Robert. While Kris had often said in interviews that she and Robert became best friends after their divorce, Pearson argued this was not true. In her response, Pearson wrote that the diary entries told a very different story, one in which Kris was portrayed as manipulative, selfish, and emotionally harmful to her family. She claimed Kris used Robert's name and image after his death to boost her own public brand and build the Kardashian empire. Ellen filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy in March 2011. In 2013, Kris's second marriage, to former Olympian Bruce Jenner, also came to an end. But the events that led to this final separation made headlines everywhere. Bruce revealed that he was transitioning into a woman, and later became known as Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn gave several interviews in which she revealed that Kris had known about her plans to transition from the very beginning of their relationship. Kris strongly denied this. Caitlyn's public interviews and subsequent book caused a lot of tension in the family. In the years following their separation, Caitlyn also revealed that Kris maintained complete control over the money earned from the reality series, business deals, and brand endorsements. She claimed that despite being a central figure in the show, she was given little say in financial matters In interviews and memoirs, Caitlyn described Kris as stingy and controlling, echoing the same criticisms that Kris had once directed toward Robert Kardashian during their own troubled marriage. Caitlyn's public comments about Kris and the children made things even worse. Caitlyn and Kris's relationship marked a familiar ending, one that echoed the final chapter of Robert Kardashian's life. Caitlyn Jenner's relationship with the Kardashian children steadily declined. While initial efforts were made to maintain a connection, distance began to grow. Over time, communication became infrequent. Today, Caitlyn maintains little to no contact with most of the Kardashian siblings. After her high-profile divorce from Caitlyn Jenner, Kris Jenner found comfort and companionship with Corey Gamble. The two met in 2014 at a party during the time Kris was finalizing her separation. Despite the difficult period, Corey approached her and introduced himself. At the time, Corey was working for music manager Scooter Braun and was also managing Justin Bieber's tours. Not long after meeting, Kris and Corey began spending more time together. Within months, they were seen together on dinner dates and even vacationing in Mexico. However, it wasn't until 2015 that the couple made their relationship public on social media. Since then, Corey has been by Kris's side, attending family events, filming for the family's reality shows, and supporting her in public. But despite nearly a decade together, Corey has often faced questions about his place in the Kardashian-Jenner family. There have been reports over the years that some family members never fully accepted him. Critics online and in media have made even stranger claims, including rumors that Corey was secretly connected to powerful organizations. He is a celebrity handler, a term that has mostly negative connotation, or that he is CIA. These theories, while unproven, have fueled speculation about his relationship with Kris and raised doubts about his true intentions. As of the time this video is being made, cracks appear to be forming in their relationship. After nearly 10 years, some sources suggest that things may not be as stable behind the scenes. If the relationship does come to an end, many believe it could lead to the release of personal secrets, both about Kris and the inner workings of the Kardashian brand. But only time would tell if it is Kris and the Kardashians that will suffer from the fallout, or would Corey succumb to the Kardashian curse? What do you think will happen? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to support the channel. See you next time.